everybody. Appreciate everybody spending time on this beautiful Monday evening. It is 5:32. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We have, looks like a pretty full agenda today, so we'll try to keep things moving. But the first item is approval of the minutes. The minutes were included.
Oh, sorry, Darren. And I actually forgot to include the minutes, so we'll have to approve that one and then this at the next meeting. Sorry about that, everyone.
Yeah, so we will approve those minutes next time. So the next agenda item is the public hearing. So Daphne, I'll turn it back over to you.
We'll need to open it. Oh, Darren, you'll have to open the public hearing, so you can say it's opening and then the time that it's opened at.
Okay, at this time, we're going to open up the public hearing. It is on my watch, 5:32 p.m. We'll be going into the public hearing session at this time.
Great, and we have Lori Heineman and I believe Abby from Middleton Development Corporation, and they're prepared to share a presentation. Do you guys want to share the presentation or?
Yes, we'll try it. Just give me a sec. See if I can make it happen.
Do you want me to give just a quick overview really quickly?
Sure.
While you're setting up?
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. I'm Abby Attune with the City of Middleton Planning Department. And just to bring everyone who is new on this committee up to speed, kind of an overview of this project. And then we'll have MDC actually present the project. The city is very involved in this project because we applied for a $3 million grant from the Department of Administration for a community development block grant disaster recovery fund. And 3 million was the max amount that a community was able and eligible to apply for. And we knew that there was a strong need for affordable housing in the community. So we went for it at the time, really without a project being brought forward. So we were awarded the full 3 million. And at that point, we did a competitive request for proposals process. The first time we went out for an RFP, we got 2 proposals that through the course of the project design didn't end up working out. So we held a second competitive process and we received 1 proposal, which was from Middleton Development Corporation for the Mill Apartments, and the Workforce Housing Committee. And Chair Fortney certainly was on the committee at the time. Ben, I know you were also involved with that. Randy, I can't remember if you were on it or not, but at the time the committee selected this project, which I think is really just about the best location for affordable workforce housing that you could imagine, immediately next to a grocery store, a wonderful neighborhood, public park, and right on the city, one of the city's primary bus routes. So we are really honored to be working with Middleton Development Corporation, which is a nonprofit housing developer, on this project. They have been absolutely amazing to work with throughout the course of administering this grant. And we are at the point in the project now where we have been able to secure and pass through all but $25,000 of that funding. So it's been a lot of reporting requirements and labor requirements, but we are pretty far into the project, and things have been going really smoothly to date with the Department of Administration, and that is thanks to Lori and Abby, who are now going to tell you a little bit more about the project itself.
Okay, thank you so much, Abby Attune. One of the challenges that we've had is Abby Wellhouse and Lori Heineman, and Abby Attune and Lori, who is your city clerk. I'll start with thanking, of course, the city of Middleton, and hopefully you can all see my screen. Mm-hmm. And Abby and the planning team just for working with us. It was quite a process to get the contract signed. Back in 2021, the city of Middleton signed a contract with the DOA for the $3 million CDBG grant. MDC and the city signed our contract on October 28th, 2022. In the grant, it said the timing was that they had to begin construction by September 1st of 2023. The results were that we began the construction on July 1st of 2023. And we actually broke ground and held a very nice groundbreaking ceremony on July 12th, 2023 with the City of Middleton Mayor, the planning team, DOA's Secretary Blumenfeld, and our financiers and neighbors from Guard Park Condo. I will tell you that right now we are ahead of schedule and we hope to complete the project and have it occupied by August or September of 2024. Also required in the grant is what has been completed. As Abby mentioned, there is a very strict reporting schedule of reports that need to be provided to the DOA. We have worked closely with the city to make sure that they are in and on time, and that is going very, very well. There was a concern about residential or business displacement. It was really not applicable in this case. There were 2 homes. One was occupied by animals, and that one was raised, and the other one had a couple of tenants in there from the previous owner. And they informed us the day that we bought it that they had found a home that their family was buying and they moved. So that was in early 2023. In June of 2023, we started working in earnest with the city to get all of our permitting. And then we were able to, as we mentioned, to break ground at the end of June, beginning of July. So yet to be completed for the project is we have to obviously complete the building, begin the lease up. We plan to do that in May of 2024 or June, depending on where we're at in the process, and then open in August or September and fully stabilize by December 2024. Again, that is a full year ahead of schedule. We've just had great meetings with the former alder, the current alder, the residents of the Guard Park condos next door, and the Brookdale Assisted Living, which is on the other side, which is on the west side of the building. Guard Park is on the north side of the building and very close to the site. And then, of course, we have the parking lot of Metro Market. And Metro Market has been so fantastic. They have actually allowed our general contractor, Connery, to park their trailer on their site and to have their employees park. So that's just made it so much easier for traffic and for everybody. Just recently, I gave a walking tour, hard hat tour with Bonnie Anderson, who is the vice chair of the Guard Park HOA. They had a lot of input on how this particular project was designed. They were concerned about privacy. They were concerned about fencing. We shared our landscaping plan with them. They were very pleased with it. And we also agreed to put a small fence, privacy fence, as well as put the community room on the front of the building rather than on the back of the building. And so the front of the building has a community room, an exercise room. It's got an office, and it's actually got a space that is 4 small offices so people can work from home. We have not reduced quality at all. It's LVP flooring. It is granite countertops. We're putting in some fun cupboards. We're putting in a fireplace in the community room. It'll have a beautiful front porch, and it has balconies on each and every unit. So I wanted to share some of the pictures of our walkthrough. This was just this last week. And of course, we had some big winds, so we had to take down a lot of our signs. But this is from Century Avenue, looking at the project. You can see the brick is going up. It's a 4-story. We do have a flat roof. This is the project just a couple of days ago. The second photo here on the bottom, this is actually from the Metro Park parking lot looking in at the building. If you see the red dumpster there, that is actually where the front door is going to be, and they'll be parking. And then on the right-hand side, it dips down underneath the building for the underground parking. This is a view from the 4th floor unit overlooking, it's got big windows overlooking the Middleton Hills Park. This is a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom. This is just another one a little bit lower down, not quite as far as along. This is just a cool hallway picture because I really like the insulation. There are 2 stairways in this building as required. There is 1 elevator, so that's our elevator under construction. I'm going to bore the heck out of you guys. This is the view from a patio overlooking the parking lot of Metro Market. So really easy access over there. This is another unit overlooking the Middleton Hills Park. And then this is kind of near the back of the building. And then this is Bonnie, who's headed the Guard Park condo in her Howard Head tour last year. So just wrapping up, I believe that we've met all the requirements of the CDBG-DR requirement. We've been getting our reports to Abby and her team on time. We do have the requirement for the grant was to have 30 units under 80% of the AMI. We will have at least 30 units under 80% of the AMI, likely 39 units. Of that, there will be 5 studio apartments, 33 one-bedroom, one-bath apartments, and 14 two-bedroom, two-bath apartments. Now, these rents will reset when the new rent charts come out, but this is the rents that we used to estimate in the beginning of the project. So with that, I'll wrap it up and turn it back over to either Abby Wallhouse, if she has anything to add, who is our CFO, who does a phenomenal job, or to Abby too. Abby Wallhouse, do you have anything to add?
No, I think you did a perfect summary. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Middleton, for your support with this project. We're very excited about it. So back to Abby Attoon.
And I think Chair Fortney, now would be the opportunity for any members of the public who wish to speak or comment on the project. Now would be the time.
Okay, great. And I believe the raise hand function is in the bottom. In the center, maybe people can raise their hand and I can call on them.
We do have an individual here in the room who wishes.
Oh, you do?
to-
I'm sorry, I didn't see it. So,
Oh, that's all right. I'm
yeah,
Bob.
can you give us
Bartholomew.
your name and?
I live in Middleton. I think, by the way, this is a great idea that Middleton's doing, the affordable housing worker force, putting money where mouth is, right? So you guys have been talking about for years and I'm glad to see it. Do you mind if I have a few questions? I suppose you don't. So do you anticipate what the rent's gonna be yet? Is that known?
Yes, so the rent charts change every year. And we are using the 2023 rent charts. And let me just grab those for you here real quick. I just had it
Be
in front of me.
for 1 bedroom.
Yes, I know you did, and I literally just had it in my printout, so let me just see where I put it. Abby Wallhouse maybe can help me out. I put it right in my, oh, here they are. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. So the studios, now it's based on the area median income for Dane County. So it's really targeted at area median incomes between 50% of the area median income and 80% of the area median income. And it varies based on household size. In other words, how many adults are in the household considered a family. So it's based on household size. But studio apartments at 50% AMI are going to be $998 a month. And that 1 bedroom, 1 bath at 50% AMI, $1,140 per month. And again, these are 2023 rates. By the time we open, it'll be 2024. And these are kind of like the max rents. A 1 bedroom, 1 bath at 80% of the area median income, another higher income, would be $1,140 to $1,495 per month. And then the 1 bedroom, 1 bath at market, which means no rent restriction. So people are making probably more than 80% or up to 100 to 120% of the area median income. 1 bed, 1 bath would be 1,720. So you can see the difference between the income level on just in the 1 bedrooms, and the 2 bedroom, 2 baths at 80%, 1,830 per month. Now, I also wanted to just mention, if a person moves into our building and they're making, say, 60,000 a year, and all of a sudden they get married, someone else comes into the household, they get a big raise, and all of a sudden they're making more than 80%, that person stays in their unit. They don't have to leave that unit. They stay in their unit. They would pay a higher rent rate based on their income, but we would reassign that income level to the next unit that's available so that we make sure that we always have that mix of at least 30% under 80% of the area median income.
Lori, just for reference, can you, let's say just like a single person, what is the area median income that what is that income right now ish?
Well, so there's the county median income, which is defined by the US Census Bureau, which I think is right around 83,000. And if you look at HUD, they have the area median income at 123,400. for the HUD charts. So it's quite a bit higher. But basically it's people who are making, if you're 50%, you're probably around 60,000 to 90,000 for a household. Again, that's the number of it, depends on the number of adults in the household that are earning income.
Lori, just for clarification, are the rent levels that you're reading off and the family income limits, are those coming from the WIDA, Wisconsin Standard Multifamily Tax Subsidy Project document that comes out in April or May of each year?
Right,
Is
so
that?
Yeah, WIDA has several different charts. I'm not sure if we're using the light tech average or the light. I'd have to go back and look at my charts to see which ones, but there's an average one that they use. And then there's also one that's just based on specifics, like under 80%. There's one that's just based under 80% AMI. And I think that's the one we're using for the 80% units. And then there's one that's the averages are all the detailed ones. So there's actually 3 different charts on WIDA, and we use the one that's kind of under 80%. So if you look on the WIDA website, you'll see that one. And then there's also an income averaging one.
Could you repeat again what would be a single bedroom under the charts that you have?
Yeah, single bedroom, again, these charts are a year old, and they are not necessarily the maximum on there. 1,140 per month to 1,495 per month, again, based on the number of people in the household.
Okay, thank you. A couple other questions I have are, to the handicap access, is it only first floor or is it all floors?
So we only build universally designed project. Universally designed projects mean that there's no barriers to entry. There are steps when you walk into the building. You can easily roll a stroller, a walker, a wheelchair in and out of the building very easily. Now handicap accessible is a higher level. So you actually have like roll-in showers, you have bars and things like this. We do have our handicap units there as well. But we've really designed this building to have all units that are fully accessible. In other words, you can roll in and roll out of the building, but it's usually the first floor units that we put in the roll-in showers to make it easier for people to, who have issues getting in and out of bathtubs, to be able to roll in. So if we have a 2-bedroom unit, we would, oh, thank you, Abby. Thank you for
Yes.
bringing. So if we have a 2-bedroom unit, one of the units would have a bathtub, the other one would have a shower that's roll-in.
So
And
this is, excuse me,
Oh,
it's
go
the
ahead.
first floor ones that have the complete access, say roll-in showers?
The first floor are the ones that the roll-in showers would be, and I would have to get back to you with the exact configurations as to whether or not they're studios, 1 or 2 bedrooms. So if it's just a 1-bedroom and it's a universal design, they would have a roll-in shower. But if it's 2 bedrooms, you're going to have 1 bath and a roll-in.
The total number of units, is it 50 I've heard, or is it more than that?
It's 52. There was originally designed a large patio overlooking the parking lot that we were going to make into like a green space. And then we ended up making it into 2 1-bedroom apartments with very large patios.
When will applications be taken?
So it's typically 3 months prior. Do you want to answer that, Abby? Because you work with Cashin all the time.
Yes, sure. Well, we are thinking of starting lease up in May, but we do already have a list of people interested, and they haven't applied for specific units. We haven't opened that up for applying for specific units, but I do encourage, if you know somebody interested, to give our office a call to at least get on the email list of when we will be starting. But we are thinking of starting lease up in May. And I should note, as part of our mission, being a nonprofit, we also want to make sure, I did bring up a sample of the CDBG rent charts from the city of Madison, just to give you an idea of where the income levels are per household size. But it is also our mission, if somebody qualifies for a unit, that they're not house burdened and cost burdened by the rent. So we do try to make sure nobody's paying more than that 30% of their gross wages for rent. So anyway, this I find very insightful for the county of Dane. The income levels are quite high, so you can see why it's hard for people to find housing that's affordable. So this is a wonderful project, in my opinion.
What are the criteria for a person to be selected? Disability, perhaps, income, age, anything else that would be a factor in making your choices and who's accepted?
No, we follow fair housing laws. So as just to give an example of our properties downtown in Madison are in such need, it is such demand that recently we've been leasing up any turnovers in our Mifflander building on Mifflin Street and our Bassett warehouse where our corporate office is. And as soon as we post a unit online, we have 5 to 7 applications. I mean, it's almost literally minutes when we post a unit. Now, this is a different location, so I'm not sure we'll have the downtown factor that hopefully people won't be fighting within minutes to get an application. But fair housing says that we post all available units. The first application is considered. And then if that person doesn't qualify, I mean, we are workforce housing. So the person does have to have some sort of income, even if it's just, even if it's Social Security, there has to be some income level. And then the other criteria may be a background checks, certain felonies we don't consider, those kind of things. But we do have fair housing tenant selection criteria that we follow. So it's really a first come, first serve. The first acceptable application will get the unit.
So the person most likely to get a unit should have their application in as soon as it's open for application. And that will be
Yes.
announced via email or?
Yes, email is the best way. When we post it on our website as being available at that same time, our office manager, she will send out an email to anybody who's shown an interest and has asked to be on the email list. And then it's just a first come, first serve. If we already have somebody's application material, then it's whoever pays the $50 fee first, the application fee. And that's what we typically see downtown is, we may have a few people with their applications in, and then it's just whoever gets the $50 in first, that's the one we consider first. So.
Going back to the criteria for a moment, I don't want to take too much time during meeting, but just wanted to check some things out because my son's very interested in it. And I think has the qualification, but of course that depends upon what else is going on as far as the review process. Is there any weighting factor on any of the criteria, say handicap, income, age, whatever, disability?
No, we really can't do that for fair housing. We have to take the first application that's acceptable.
Okay.
We have to accept that one. So
Oh,
it's
that's
not
fair.
it's not a project tied to, I've heard of some veteran projects or something where there's criteria given for veterans. This is just a regular workforce project that follows all fair housing rules.
In the meantime, I assume it'd be a good idea, let's say for my son to stay in touch though with your office.
I would say to get on our email list and to have his application prepared and filled out. It isn't insignificant, the application, because it is a project that's a workforce project that is restricted on some income levels. We'll have some of the building at market, but given the income restrictions, it does require some proof of income, proof of assets. It's a little more than just a typical application. So I would recommend anybody interested that they start filling all of that out and have it ready to go.
Oh, now they go online for that?
Yes, on our website,
Okay.
there is a button that takes you to our application, and then you can fill it out and print it. You don't, I don't think you submit it online, but you could email it to our office manager when the time comes, or the best thing is to talk to our office manager who takes the applications daily. She'll tell you the process.
608-256-2799 is our main line, 608-256-2799.
Okay, thank you.
And her name is
Well,
Danny.
I appreciate the answer to the questions, very thorough, so I have an understanding of it. And again, I'm really glad to see Middleton doing this. That's a wonderful thing. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Alder.
Yeah, go ahead, Alder Higuero.
Thank you. Thank you, Lori and Abby, for this great presentation. And thank you, Bob, if you're still there, for all the questions. This is in District 6, my district, so I'm super excited about this. And at the right time, I would love a tour. I don't want to interfere with any construction or other stuff going on, but we'll keep in touch. And I too am so glad to see actual affordable housing being built in Middleton. I hope that this will be just one of the first opportunities that I'll have to see affordable housing going up in Middleton, working with MDC, and I appreciate it. I had a question, a follow-up to Bob Bartholomew's comments. So I recognize that you cannot give extra weight to anything like someone with a handicap. But if there are handicap accessible units on the first floor, are those in any way reserved for people who actually need the handicap accessible, or is it just first come, first serve? If somebody who doesn't actually need the roll-in shower wants an apartment in that building and that's what's left, they're able to get it.
Well, I think our Vice President of Housing would be able to speak to this a little more. He's a bit more familiar with all of the rules than I am, but typically what we've seen with the first come, first serve is the 100% handicap units aren't chosen by somebody who doesn't need it as their first choice. If we get down to that, maybe the only one bedroom or studio or whatever the case may be left, I can't answer the question whether we can save it for, if we have an application that meets all criteria, I'm not sure we can turn somebody away, but I think Cashton would be able to speak to that in more detail.
Okay,
Great question. We will definitely look into it. As you know, this building was inspired by James Grasscamp, who spent his life in a wheelchair and became a prolific, highly respected developer and professor at University of Wisconsin. So we're all about making sure that people have access.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your help. We appreciate it.
Other questions or comments?
It looks like Ben has his hand raised. Go ahead.
Yes, I don't, oh, there we go. Yeah, go ahead, Ben. Sorry.
Thanks. Hey, Lori, one question. Thanks for the presentation. One question. I believe I heard you mention between 30 and 39 units. I think you said 50%. What's going to drive where it will land in that range?
So we are a nonprofit, and so what's really important for us is to get tax exemption, and we do have a pilot in place, payment in lieu of taxes with the city, which we truly appreciate, because that's how we're able to keep the rents down. So what drives how many units will be at 50% is a test that Abby is very familiar with. That Abby, you wanted to talk about that test that we have to meet. Abby, you want to talk about that test?
So the grant, the CDBG grant, says we have to keep 30 units under 80% of the county median income. But MDC being a nonprofit, we have most of our developments are tax exempt, which means we cannot have more than 25% of the building at market. So that means on a 52 unit, only 13 of the units will be rented to people making 80% or more of the county median income. And then to also meet the tax exemption, 20% of the units have to be rented to individuals who are making 50% or less of the county median income, or 40% have to be rented to individuals making 60% or less. So that means that really we'll have at least 11 units is our goal to be rented to 50% or under. And then we'll have a large chunk, of units who are at that 50 to 80%, and then no more than 13% at market. Does that answer the question, Ben?
It does. Yep, thank you.
You're welcome.
It's not an easy business. It's complicated.
Other questions, comments? Okay, hearing none. Do we need to then shut down the public hearing then, Daphne?
Yes, we can close the public hearing and then move on to our next agenda item.
All right, do we need a motion to close it down, or just we are gonna close it down?
No, you can close it.
All right, so it is 6:02. We are gonna close down the public hearing at this time and continue on with the agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
So next on the agenda is Kelly Hilliard. She's giving an update on the Efficiency Navigator project. I know she has a meeting at 6:30, so if we have time for questions, we can have questions, but if not, I can also send her contact to our committee members. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, I'm sure Kelly is happy to answer them.
All right, great. I'm going to try to share my screen. Can you all see that?
yes,
Okay, great. I'm going to start the slideshow. Gosh. Let me try this again. Okay, let's see. How does that look?
yep, that looks great.
Still always some technical stuff. So hi, everyone. I'm Kelly Hilliard. I'm the sustainability coordinator for the city of Middleton, and I have a real interest and passion for like the intersection between housing and sustainability. And so I'm going to just give you an update. I think there's probably some new members on workforce housing since the last time I came and talked about a program the city is running. It's called the Efficiency Navigator Program, and this program was conceived during COVID as a means to help people in Middleton who were most affected by COVID and the economics of that, and also to help meet both our energy goals as a city, as a community-wide, and also to reduce costs for tenants by saving energy and reducing monthly energy bills. Our mayor had done a walk around her district at one point a few years ago and had talked to quite a few tenants who said that although their rent was affordable, they weren't expecting the really high energy costs, sometimes in the hundreds of dollars per month during the winter, and were forced to move out. And so one way of reaching housing stability in Middleton is to address energy costs. This program focuses primarily on naturally occurring affordable housing, which is that unsubsidized housing that already exists in the community and maybe is lower rent because it's an older building. Maybe the aesthetics aren't as great. It's unsubsidized, typically housing tenants who are at 80% or below of area median income. And so that's the target for this project. So the project aims to help build a community where people can afford to live, and it focuses on multifamily. In this project, we focus on 2 to 8 units primarily, and the main goals are lowering energy bills and increasing comfort and climate resiliency. When we first established this program, we went through a lengthy process of what the eligibility criteria would be. And to do that, we partnered with community partners who are already working in this space. Way Forward Resources is a partner, and as well as the Senior Center. And we also pulled in Dane County Public Health for part of the work in this. And then our main partners on this project are Elevate Energy, which is a national nonprofit, and they really run the Efficiency Navigator program, and they have experience doing this nationwide. And then Sustain Dane is the other major partner in this. And they've been working on this project in Madison before bringing this project to Middleton. So we're now in our third year of this project, and we initially allocated, the council allocated $450,000 of American Recovery Plan Act money, ARPA funds, which was chunks of money that the federal government gave to municipalities during COVID to help with the economic downturn for both cities and for things that cities felt were important for their residents. So we went through an eligibility process to decide how would we prioritize which parts of the city, how would we prioritize units, and who would get selected for the program. So the eligibility criteria is listed here. It must be renter occupied, 2 to 8 units for this program. The renter must pay utility bills, be current on their tax bills. And then the property owner is a huge part of this program and the vetting process, and they must commit to maintaining affordable rent at the HUD fair market rent value for 5 years. And then I should mention that there are a whole host of secondary eligibility criteria, which are things like a commitment to the community, which is drawn out during an interview process with the property owners. Also, we look for buildings that don't have major outstanding structural issues, like a roof that needs major repairs, or things that would be really expensive to fix before you would even begin to do energy efficiency. And the need, I think this committee, more than any other committee, is probably pretty familiar with the need for this. But because of the affordable housing shortage, we really want to preserve the housing that we already have that's affordable in Middleton. And then climate change and reducing carbon emissions is a big part of this program. And really, to me, the beauty of this program is that it decreases the time and effort in identifying opportunities for building owners. A lot of times building owners have so much going on. They have multiple jobs. They don't live in these units, and they may not know where to start on this. So the Navigator project, Elevate Energy, goes through the entire process with the building owner. There's lots of barriers we've discovered for building owners when they want to do energy efficiency work. They may not know how to hire all the contractors that are needed, or how to even assess the building at first. So the Navigator takes the building owner through that process, does a full energy assessment and talks it over with the building owner, does a lot of analysis, and then provides a report to them, and then takes them through the entire process, which makes it easier for them to navigate. This is just a visual of the Navigator process. Starts with outreach, which is a pretty lengthy process to build trust in communities. We've targeted 2 census tracts in Middleton specifically, where there's a higher concentration of tenants living at 80% or lower AMI. And these communities are also prioritized with the Biden administration's Justice 40 areas. So we're really trying to target specific parts of the city right now as we go through this round of the Navigator project. So for the efficiency packages and the things that we primarily work on, there's different levels of energy work that we could do in all of these buildings. And each building is very different. They're all sort of a puzzle, but we're really concentrating in this program on the 4th package, which is more than just lighting and shower heads and things you can get through Focus on Energy. And it really focuses on the bigger things like weatherization, followed by air source heat pumps, which electrify the building and hopefully bring natural gas and fossil fuels out of the building when possible, and then pairing that with solar. So it's a deeper energy retrofit, and we decided to do a deeper retrofit to trial that and to see how successful we could be through this program, doing more to attain more energy cost reductions. So currently, right now, we've already created the outreach plan a couple years ago, and that's been executed. And then we have assessed 9 buildings or 20 units total with really comprehensive energy analysis with walkthroughs and multiple contractors checking things out and giving the building owner a lot of information about exactly what's going on in their building. And then 8 buildings have received full retrofits according to the assessments, and that is 18 units, 18 households. The 9th building is being worked on right now as we speak. And so the next steps for the program, we have 1 year left of ARPA funding. So we've so far expended around 300,000 of the ARPA funds that the city received from the federal government. And we're going to work in 2 or 3 more buildings this year and expend the last 150,000. Elevate Energy brought about 87,000 of their own money in philanthropy to the project for additional electrification in some of the buildings and help with some of the solar. So that was great. And then we also received a $20,000 grant from Healthy Babies, Bright Futures to pair public health work at the same time that we were doing energy retrofits. Here are just a few examples. These are just 4 buildings, but it just shows what we've done in each particular building. There's replacement of furnaces, insulation, usually in all of the projects need insulation. We always go in and improve the ventilation. We have replaced water heaters to be electric. We've been able to install heat pumps in some of the units. And this year, we're looking at putting solar on 2 buildings if we can figure out the bidding requirements. And there's still some unanswered questions hanging out there. Madison has also not tried solar yet. So we're working with Madison and city officials to figure out how we can do this with the financing and the funds currently. So lastly, this is a pretty quick run through, but lastly, I'll just say that we've learned so much through this project, and I really hope that we can continue this work in some form because we've learned so much. And I'd like to do more of this work in the greater community in naturally occurring affordable housing. It's been really gratifying to see tenants be happy with the outcome and tell us face to face that their apartment feels so much more comfortable and warm, less drafty. And we're already receiving reports that energy bills are going down, but we really need to verify that before I release numbers. We have to have several months of energy bills to really look at to see how that's going. We've learned that when you want to electrify affordable housing or these NOAA buildings, you really need to pair solar with the electrification in order to receive those deep energy cuts to rent or to utility bills. And then I think if we do this work in the future, we should really always pair public health with it because it integrates really well. When you're sealing up drafty areas, you're also sealing out places where pests can come in, which create allergens for the tenants and also end up using pesticides to treat the pests, and that creates asthma issues. So a lot of this stuff goes hand in hand with mold reduction. And sometimes we can identify units that should be tested for lead. So it just, once we're in the building, I think it's great to add public health to this work. And then we will have evaluation tools to prioritize future work. We're working with Block Power, which is a firm in Brooklyn, and they're able to use a mapping data deployment called Block Maps, which can help identify housing in your city that meets criteria for electrification based on area median income, housing type, and housing age. and pairs it with different incentives and programs that your state or your city has. And so we'll be able to create more drilled down maps if we want to try to get grants for whole blocks or whole neighborhoods to do some of this work in. So I think the questions moving forward for the Workforce Housing Committee, and hopefully also jointly the Sustainability Committee, is to how to finance this sustainably using multiple tools and funds, and also how to take advantage of Inflation Reduction Act tax credits, because right now, because of the Biden administration's focus on climate change and through the Inflation Reduction Act, a lot of these projects, anytime you do solar or buy heat pumps, you can get an incredible tax credit back, or sometimes direct pay for the equipment that really changes the numbers on payback. And it's a really historic time, I feel like, to move forward with community climate mitigation. So those are the things I'd like to continue the conversation between the Sustainability Committee and the Workforce Housing Committee as the TIF affordable housing extension comes on in a year or two. So I'm going to stop there just to give maybe time for a couple questions, and then I'm going to run to my Sustainability Committee meeting.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelly. Questions?
I actually had a little question. So like when it comes to like those solar systems and stuff, if there are issues with them, like if they break or stuff, are you guys responsible for paying or like repairing those like systems, or are like the residents themselves responsible?
Yeah, at this point, I think the building owner would be, not the tenants, but the building owner would have to assume that risk. And I think that we should probably help them estimate what the longer term costs of replacing an inverter might be so that they could plan for that. It's basically like residential solar. These are mostly duplexes and 4 units, so they're not large multifamily housing units. But you're right, there would be a potential cost in the future for those things.
Right, Ben.
Thanks. Hey, Kelly, thanks for that. So I guess you're doing 8 right now, right? So if you did another round of outreach, and kind of assessments, like, are you pretty confident we could kind of generate another 8 good candidate units or more with it?
Oh yeah, I think so. We haven't done extensive outreach. We've definitely reached out to the building owners in the 2 census tracts. But we just sent out a mailing for the 2nd census tract. So I do feel like we're going to get a lot of applications. We do have funding to do energy assessments in probably 5 to 7 buildings, but we probably only have funding to work in two or 3 more buildings for this last year of the ARPA.
Right. Thanks.
Lisa, I see you have your hand up.
Thanks. Hi, Kelly. Very excited about this project, as you know. I had just 2 questions. One of the slides mentioned that there were 40,000 units considered naturally occurring affordable housing. Sorry. My dogs are eating. Naturally occurring affordable housing in Dane County. Can we get a list of Middleton properties from them? And before I go referee this fight, the second one is this something you think we could replicate with TID extension funds? And is that something that anybody has already done?
I think yes. I think there's still some legal questions we're going over with Matt about all the particulars, and I think we would need to work that out with the committee and with the city officials. But yes, and wait, what was the second part of that question? Because I had the answer to that too.
Well, I was just wondering if anybody has
Oh, right.
If Elevate Energy and Sustain Dane, have they worked with municipalities that have done that?
Yeah, I believe Fitchburg right now, I don't know if they have the paperwork signed, so I don't want to put anyone on notice, but Fitchburg is looking to use TIF funding in this way. I think the affordable housing extension as well for this project. So it's not unprecedented. Madison is also using capital budget to extend theirs. But I feel like all options are on the table because it's been a positive experience. And Eau Claire is also doing this program now. They just signed their paperwork. So I'd really like to find a way, and maybe a more novel way, where you could combine a financing loan tool with some grant funding with, you know, there might be a cocktail we could come up with for it.
Great, thanks.
Other questions for Kelly before we let her go?
Hey Kelly, what's the barriers with the solar bidding that they're trying to figure out in Madison in here?
Well, it's, you know, a solar array costs about $40,000, 30,000, 60, you know, depends how big. And we just want to make sure that depending on what funding source you're using and what kind of reporting requirements, whether it's for the federal government or for a grant, we need to make sure that we don't need a public construction bid for each solar we do. Like, I feel like this kind of work is the key to climate change mitigation in communities. Like, we have to figure out a way to do this work, but if
Yeah.
it gets mired down in like bidding that matches Wisconsin state statute, and we have to go one by one, and it's really laborious and it takes months and months, and it's going to be really difficult. So I'm just looking for ways to do this work efficiently and to save money on all these projects.
Are there other projects like this that do like group solar buys? So if we do them in like the tracks of the 8 buildings that we've done, if there's a group solar buy, a way to consolidate the bid into one larger bid?
I think that would be great. I think we could definitely do that. I think some of the person who really inspired me about this was the sustainability coordinator in Ann Arbor, and they are doing entire neighborhoods there all at once. And you know, it's very expensive, you know, they're looking at millions of dollars for these projects, but they're also finding ways to finance it, fund it, and they're getting big grants. So they're just you know, piecing away at it. So yeah, I think all of those options are definitely on the table.
And right now we're running it as a grant program. So all the funds that we've outlaid are grants, or are they loans for the property owners?
It's right now in Middleton, it's mostly ARPA funds, which were distributed from the federal government for COVID relief. And those run out at the end of 2024. And so we'll have to find a new funding source if we want to continue this program in any way. We also got a public health grant to do public health work at the same time, but not to do energy retrofits.
I'm wondering if, given that the property owners get the tax benefit of some of these installs, like the air heat pumps and the solar panels, if we could shift to a loan program for those property owners. With a grant, it seems like they get to double dip there a little bit with the tax break and the grant funds.
So far, we haven't been able to find a way to take any of the tax credits. And it gets really complicated, and I'd love to tell you all about it. It's pretty in the weeds.
And nor do I think that we can take them, but I'm saying in lieu of grants to the property owners, that we could extend lower interest loans for these projects, because they're going to get the tax break. That's their benefit. And we make more funds available via loans and grants.
Yeah, but even for the building owner, it's hard for them to get it, because in order to take like a tax credit for the solar, they have to live in the building that
Yep.
they own, and they don't in any of these cases. None of them live in the building. And then they also are filing their taxes as individuals. And so if they filed them as an entity, as a business, then I think they wouldn't have to live in the building. But we just haven't found a situation yet where they've been able to take that 30% solar rebate, which is a real shame. And we need to figure that out if we're going to do this big time in the future.
Yeah.
I think I might have to head out. I'm really sorry. I have a committee pounding on my email already. So
We certainly appreciate your time and thank you for presenting.
thank you so much. I hope to work with you soon in the future.
Thank you. Okay. Moving along, is the housing ready checklist is the next item on the agenda.
Yes, so we can go through this. So this is actually Alder Hanairo had sent this to me. You guys see my screen right now?
Yes.
Sure. Okay, great. So the League of Wisconsin Municipalities came out with this housing ready checklist, and then Abby and I went through it to see, you know, and it kind of assesses, you know, how we're doing on housing needs and housing affordability. And so I think this is a great way to kind of start to understand where we're at with housing. So I can run over this really quickly and then we can go over any questions. So the first question is, have we taken steps to understand local housing needs? So the first thing is updating the comprehensive plan. So yes, we did. We actually just did an amendment in 2023, so it's been updated. Second, have we done a housing needs assessment? Technically, no. We had one done, I think, in like 2017 or 2019. But you know, the housing situation has changed, I think, very drastically since then. And so, you know, technically, Abby and I consider that as a no, because we don't really have a recent one that looks at our current need. And then has your community conducted a survey of the existing housing stock? That's also technically no, although the work Kelly is doing with, she mentioned with block maps that, you know, gives an overview of, you know, housing stock and where we're at. However, you know, that's looking at kind of census data, which is like extrapolated outwards a lot. And so, you know, we don't have a more specific view of Middleton. And then has your community prepared a housing affordability analysis? And so this was, you know, it's part of Wisconsin state statute. However, so we have done it. However, I think this was started in 2019. And so we did the 2019 one. And then technically you're supposed to report annually every year after that. And I don't think we have done that since. But yeah, there isn't really any repercussions to it either. So, you know, it's just something that is nice to have. And so unfortunately, Abby and I just haven't had time to get around to updating the report every year. Have we adopted a local housing strategy? Yes. So at the last meeting, we looked at some of the strategies that we've done over the past year. So the last one that we had was that home ownership affordability strategy that Workforce Housing passed. And then how we reached out to stakeholders, sought their opinions through workforce housing surveys, public meetings, focus groups. And so, yes, we just had a public meeting, but we've done some surveys and then mostly through our work with the comprehensive plan and the zoning ordinance. That's basically how we've kind of assessed, you know, a survey of, you know, what we've been doing around Middleton. And so these are some of the things that we've done. Also, you know, with partnership with Dane County, so public housing authorities, you know, we have a close relationship with them. And so, yeah. In terms of zoning strategies, do we allow multi-unit housing as a permitted use in single family? And so this is something that we
got conditional use, didn't we?
No, we
we
did
didn't?
it. So we had discussed it and we had recommended it to Plan Commission. Unfortunately, Plan Commission decided not to take that on. However, we do allow, you know, accessory dwelling units and all of that. And so we also, you know, permit residential units, multifamily in downtown and Main Street zoning districts. That's something we do.
And can I just say on the one about the triplex and fourplex?
Yeah.
I don't think that's what we recommended. We recommended duplexes. Yeah.
Right.
But
Yeah.
we didn't go quite as high as the 3 and 4.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And so we do permit residential units in commercial districts, so we don't have any, you know, strictly commercial districts. It's all mixed use now with our new zoning. And that was adopted, you know, just this past month. We do allow accessory dwelling units. Minimal or no parking requirements. So technically Abby and I said no, because we do have parking requirements. However, we did give Plan Commission the ability to waive them. So it's a kind of, but we were harder on ourselves and we said no. And then single family homes may be converted to multifamily units, no, and that's also a caveat, if it's in, you know, a 2-family flat district, you know, they can do that, but,
Well,
across
the
the board.
ADU can be attached, so you can
yes.
sort of get a duplex.
Right, yeah, but it's still, so we didn't count accessory units in that case, yeah. And then multifamily housing, you know, can be with the same similar lot dimension as single family when practical. So we said yes in, you know, those certain districts for 2 families and we have a multifamily low density district now, and so that's basically the same scale as a single family home, so those are allowed. And then we have small or no minimum dwelling or floor area size for all housing types. We do allow 0 lot line homes, and then we also increased our density by allowing smaller lot sizes. So all those 3 were basically with our new zoning ordinance we were able to address. And so these are certain, you know, incentives for workforce housing. So do we allow a density bonus when retaining open space? We do not. However, we do allow density bonus when a percentage of units are set aside for workforce housing. And then we don't technically allow, you know, we don't give a bonus for a reduced number of parking spaces. Although, you know, as I said, that's something Plan Commission could waive. And then we also have reduced impact fees and utility connection fees. I believe it's just our impact fees. And so right now it's for fire and EMS. I think that all developers are required to pay. However, we waive that for workforce housing.
Did we ever adopt the park fee reduction?
That's still in the works, so yeah, not yet. And then we have the reduced minimum dwelling lot size for, you know, below market or workforce. We don't have that. And then we do have a height bonus if workforce is included. And then this is, you know, the next like 4 or 5 questions. Have we done a self-assessment of our permitting process? No. However, we are kind of in the development of that just because we've had a lot of projects and our department and the Public Works Department is kind of like, you know, we're just like drowning and trying to, you know, get ourselves out of it. So we will probably in the next year or so do this.
I know the contractors that I work with, like Middleton, because it's all online. Madison.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. We've had a lot of those too.
Got that going.
Yeah.
Lisa, you're muted.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh.
she knows. She's chirping at her dogs.
More here. And so some of the other things are one-stop permit desk. No, we don't have that. However, if someone does stop in, you know, they can talk to me or Abby or anyone. Adopted the traditional neighborhood development ordinance. We did actually have this in our old ordinance. However, we did not actually carry it forward because our Middleton Hills is technically a traditional neighborhood development. However, they didn't even follow this zoning district. They went with our planned development district instead. So this is also something we're discussing with our attorney and our consultants if we should add this back in. However, you know, a lot of our single family and our 2-family is kind of already incorporates a lot of it. It's just a lot of our, I think, design standards are a little different.
And can I jump in here? And now I am talking to all of you, not my dogs. So the traditional neighborhood development, it says this is required for a community our size under Wisconsin statute. So that surprised me. Why didn't we carry that forward?
Yeah, that was also, well, we learned a lot here too, because we didn't realize it was required either. So that is something we've asked our city attorney to look into to see if we need to amend our ordinance to add it back in, but.
Yeah, and also I'm wondering why our consultant would not have flagged this as something that is required. So okay.
And I think it is because a lot of our new zoning incorporates a lot of the ideas like the smaller lots and, you know, some of the design standards are incorporated into our ordinance, just like we did. And so it's not like a specific zoning district, that's this traditional neighborhood. So that might be why, but yeah, they're talking and working it out right now. And then finally, develop a transparent, easy to follow developers checklist. That has not yet been made, although we are currently trying to create that with our new zoning ordinance. And then develop forms and permits that are simple, easy to access. Everything is online. And we also just released new permits and forms with clear checklists and everything for everyone, and it's all online. And then I think this is the last one. So have we promoted an inventory of government-owned properties, development-ready properties? Technically, yes. We do have a list, and then, you know, we have a map online that the Chamber of Commerce is on the Chamber of Commerce website. So we have, you know, something like that. It's not, I would say, to the best of our abilities. And it's not easily found on our website. It's basically just, I have a list somewhere on my computer that I can send out. So that's definitely something that can be improved on. And then we've taken actions to encourage infill development. So we allow mixed uses. And then we do assist with consolidation of lots to be bigger. And then we also have our TIF district. So, you know, we recently shifted some of the boundaries to include some of University Avenue to encourage some more infill development. Oh yeah, so this is facilitating adaptive reuse of, you know, old warehouse strip malls. So we have done that, and then we do, we have in the past entered into partnerships with like PPD as a major employer in this area to help with workforce housing and everything. However, that's been, you know, probably 10-15 years ago now, so we'll likely have to reevaluate some of these as well. And then, you know, so these are just some of the tax increment stuff that we've been doing. So, you know, are we taking advantage of the extension? Yes, we will be. And then have we used TIF in the past to rehabilitate or create affordable housing? Yes, we have. And then we've entered into public-private partnership, as you just saw with our first presentation today. We worked with NBC to do stuff like that. We do not have a housing trust fund, and we have not approached major employers to solicit support for workforce housing yet. I know that's something that Alder Hanairo has brought up a couple of times in our recent meetings, so that's definitely something we can look into. And then meeting preconditions necessary to enable workforce and senior housing developers to qualify for infrastructure and other loans. And so it's zoning ordinance, subdivision ordinance, reducing fees. We've done, you know, a lot of those already with our most recent zoning ordinance update. So that's our checklist. Does anyone have any other questions related to how we're doing? What would you guys like to see maybe?
Because all the zoning stuff, rezoning stuff gets shook out, that checklist for developers of like, here is what our zoning allows for, here's how you can maximize all the benefits of the affordability and sustainability things that we built into this, and like an easy one-page thing.
Right.
There.
Yeah. Go ahead, Alder.
I just wanted to thank you, Daphne and Abby, for filling that out. You know, it was just one of those things. I saw it in the municipality magazine. Middleton is a member of the League of Wisconsin Municipalities, and so we get these magazines, and it just seemed really very timely. And this is the first in a series of white papers that the league is doing with the builders and I forget, the Realtor Association. So I thought this would be, I mean, they describe it as a conversation starter, and I thought that this would be a good thing for us to walk through and see what are we doing well already, and it looks like there's a lot in there, and where are some areas that we might be able to focus our efforts on. And I do think outreach to employers will be an important thing, both for funding and also for support. Because there's been I think, a very strong anti-apartment pushback on new developments in Middleton, and I'm all for looking at ways to build actual affordable houses. But to meet the 4,000 units that we have to add before 2050, I don't think we can do that with just houses. So I'd love to see employers step up and support the construction of workforce housing of all types.
Yeah, and I'm planning on reaching out to the Chamber of Commerce as well, because I know they've also been, discussing some housing things, in some of their meetings, and our tourism director attended one about housing because a lot of the hotel staff, they're moving further and further out and they can't afford to live and work in Middleton. So I know it is a conversation that the chamber has been having. So I'm reaching out to see if they can also give us a presentation or something, a discussion, about what they've been talking about. Yeah, and Abby and I learned a lot from doing this checklist too, because, the whole traditional neighborhood thing, we had no idea we had to be doing that. And, our reports every year, like, we were like, oh yeah, we probably should be doing those, so it was a really good way to check in, to see where we were at.
Okay. Any other comments or thoughts? Okay. Is there more here, Daphne, or?
Yes, we do have a couple
Sorry, I didn't mean to
more.
cut you off.
However, I know, we're already past an hour, so we don't have to talk about this one today. However, I can send this link out again. Alder Hanairo was able to kind of consolidate that massive board of sticky notes that I created into something that is a lot more, I think, palatable, understandable. So this is, just kind of looking over all the recommendations again. And so she just reformulated it into something that's easy to understand. And so you guys can take the time to look over this. We'll probably be talking about this again and again through every meeting, but that's there. And so the link is at the top if you would like to, look at it and edit it yourself.
And may I add, Daphne, the 3 on the bottom, recommend to council, recommend to plan commission, and questions, those are just totally
Ideas.
thoughts from my head. So I'm not saying this is what we as a committee need to recommend. These are just things that occurred to me as I was rearranging the sticky notes and thinking about this. And if anybody wants to add questions or possible recommendations for this group to discuss in the future, please do so. Daphne, I don't know if you were able to give everybody who's attached to this or who can view this the ability to edit. I had to request it, so you might need to request it through the system as well.
Yeah,
Editing
I'll tinker with it to see if I can give everyone here access to it, but yeah. So that's the recommendations, and then we did have some questions to consider for liaison. So it was mentioned in Alder Hanairo's recommendations on, our liaisons. And so I think this was something that the Common Council wanted us to discuss to see if there were any other options where we could either, bring in more liaisons or, send people to other commissions just to be able to,
So, like,
work better.
Us being on, or one of us being on transportation.
Right. Yeah,
commingling the committees.
right, yeah. And so in some committees, you know, they might have had too many liaisons that weren't necessary. Or, you know, if we think we need, you know, perhaps more liaisons, Alder Hanaro suggested someone for the CDA, which is the Community Development Authority. Right now, they only manage stuff downtown.
Yeah.
But, you know, there could be, you know, if they expand their reach, they have a lot of funding for, you know, random things like housing, and stuff like that, that they could, you know, we could build a partnership with them. Other relevant commissions I listed were maybe Landmarks Commission, since there is that historic building sense to it, where like rehabbing, or, you know, what Kelly was working on, like efficiency navigator project, that could be someone. Or, you know, the transportation, since housing and transportation are so tightly linked. So those are just some ideas, but yeah, I'd like to hear any feedback. Go ahead, Randy.
Given today's presentation by Kelly, it does seem like this is, you know, someone from sustainability might make sense. I could kind of see how some energy efficiency issues certainly are, you know, dovetail with affordability.
Yeah.
And what do you want? Do you think we would want someone here to go to sustainability, or from sustainability to come to our committee as liaison?
Boy, that's a good question. I hadn't thought it that way.
Well, and another question could be, do the committees need to have actual liaisons who attend every meeting, or do we want to liaise a bit more? Have our two committees meet jointly sometime? Like, how can we make sure that we are that we are interacting in an efficient way without burdening someone with having to attend an extra meeting every month? Like, you know, what are the opportunities that we might want to take? And if it does warrant having somebody constantly participating, that's fine. But is there another way we could accomplish that?
Because our schedule right now is monthly until we figure out the TIF stuff, and then back to quarterly.
Right, yeah.
Quarterly seems like a fine enough way for a joint meeting of the committees to just talk through what they're working on, but if that's the only meeting that we have, I don't know. That doesn't work.
Yeah, and sustainability, they do meet, you know, Kelly just had to hop off to go. So it could be, you know, we meet, you know, half an hour later, they meet half an hour earlier, we can do a joint meeting like that. So, I mean, sustainability is, I think, an easier one to do something like that with.
And I don't think we need to do liaisons with transit, as long as transit is, you know, trying to make it easier to get around without a car. So we don't need to stick our nose into that, I don't think.
Daphne, to your question before to Randy about kind of how the guys work, I would think it might make more sense to have someone from sustainability liaison to us, because I think there's probably a pretty small percentage of what they're talking about that is workforce housing related, but there's probably more frequent opportunity to work in sustainability considerations for what we discuss. Just my take.
Yeah, they definitely have their reaches into, they have like a bunch of subcommittees that each do different things, I've heard. So yeah, that's a good idea.
Our CDA is just with downtown Middleton.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I did all the homework last night.
Oh.
Crammed for that presentation by the Madison crew about their CDA and the like pipeline of development that they do throughout the city was a fairly compelling case for maybe what we should do with the TIF money in generating more projects like we just saw in the presentation today.
Yeah.
But also like planning for the next one and the one after that and the one after that, and kind of opening up the CDA's role in organizing that pipeline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for those of you who weren't able to watch that webinar, Madison CDA, they have like a housing authority, or they have like multiple different housing authorities, and those manage specifically their a lot of their workforce housing, you know, program. So they're literally managing the money and, you know, giving it to developers to create workforce housing projects in Madison. Right now, our CDA mostly does like the landscape planters in downtown. So, you know, the scale of work is very different. But, you know, all of that is housed in Madison's CDA. So that's something, because it is Community Development Authority. So, yeah.
I wasn't
Randy?
able to attend that webinar and I would love to get a link if we can. And that's
I watched the recorded one and it was really great. So the gist is they started with $20 million in 2017 and now they're like regularly doing like $100 million projects,
that's
right? To
awesome.
the tune of like thousands of units since 2017. So like
Wow.
pretty fast.
Well, and that's why one of the recommendations that draft recommendations that I put on the post-it was to expand our CDA's authority, because we specifically, previous council specifically did not give them authority over housing. And that might be something we need to do. And also they are right now focused on the downtown. And I think that probably should change to be more broad, community-wide.
Randy, did you have your hand up before?
Yeah, I thought that presentation was really excellent too, and it is amazing what Madison's done. It looked like they may have jump-started their program with some TIF extension funds.
Well, and they said that they kind of regularly refresh their funds with other expiring TIFs, and they do that. Those boluses, I forget what they called it. It was like chunky or groupie or I don't know.
Yeah.
Of those funds, in addition to other funding sources that they could bring together, but
you know, the developers that are doing these affordable projects like Madison Development Corp's presentation earlier, it takes multiple sources of funding.
Yep.
And if Middleton could, you know, had a fund that they could help, you know, to contribute to projects, we could get more affordable housing built. You know, we'd be leveraging other government monies as well. So I think it would be something that we really should look into seriously.
That presentation by the Madison CDA, I think, laid out a very compelling vision for what we could do here in Middleton.
Mm-hmm.
I will send the link to everyone after this meeting, so you can watch it on your own time.
Great.
And you can
How
watch
long
it
is
at
it
like,
again? How long?
it was an hour, but I watched it at double speed. But they pointed out too that they had a really good example of the breadth of scale in the projects from like a 4-unit to 394 multi-acre downtown rebuild where they're like moving residents in stages and as not to displace. But Randy, to your point, those smaller ones, they can largely finance directly. No other outside funding sources. But those larger ones, they said, become quite a bit more complicated in wrangling financing from multiple different sources. But they said that's, again, another way for them to extend the reach. I think what they have that we don't is that land trust where they retain ownership and they extend property management. They contract that out. But they said that their land trust allows them to retain the affordability in perpetuity is what they talk about. Because like in like they can do a 40 or 50-year loan and then they can renegotiate, you know, if you want us to, if you don't want to, or if you want to do market rate, pay us the $2 million back, or let's extend the affordability, or they own the properties outright. So then they can set the rate whatever they want.
Right. Yeah. And they were buying properties and
Yep.
banking them
With the
for-
land trust and the land bank specifically. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's very exciting to think about. But I'd be, even if we could just get a housing, you know, an affordable housing fund established that
Yeah.
we could use to help, you know, private developers purchase and develop properties. I think that would be fantastic.
I think the land trust and the fund does kind of tie into our last item of the agenda, which is our meeting for next month. And I was wondering if we could do, I believe it's 2 weeks later than our typical meeting. This is the last Monday in April. And that's because I've been reaching out to some people to give presentations. So the Madison Area Community Land Trust is one. We have a Wisconsin Housing Alliance is another person who's able to come. And then Kurt Paulson, the professor from UW, who's our housing expert. So all three of them are available on this April 29th date. And I think 1 or 2 of them are not available on our typical, I think, April 15th date. So I was wondering if the committee was interested in switching our meeting for next month to this date so that everyone, we can hear some great presentations from these 3 groups.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Are people general? I just checked my calendar. I'm available. How about others?
I'm available.
Yep, I'm available.
I can make it work.
Daphne, is that
Do
something you would send
another
out? Yeah?
hybrid or in person?
Yeah, it'll likely be online via Zoom for everyone.
Daphne, could we do that one in person?
Yeah, I mean, I can set it up as a hybrid, so those who aren't able to make it can
Yeah.
come on Zoom, and then those who are can come in person here.
Would you send an invite then, Daphne?
Yes, yeah, I'll set it up probably in a couple weeks or so, so you'll get that soon.
Okay. All right. Anything else before we look to adjourn?
Motion to close?
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Seconded by Bruce.
That was Bruce or Randy.
Yeah.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, it
Great.
is 6:58. We are adjourned. Nice to see everybody and thank you for the great meeting.
Thanks, everyone.
Great
See you next
meeting.
month.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a good night. Bye.